Let's start first with you pretty much had the opportunity to do whatever you wanted in business, in tech, etc. Why you want to run for politics, and like how important is any individual political seat in terms of actually creating some sort of change in the United States?
I mean, I guess I intend to find out. I think a U.S. Senate seat is enormously more powerful than most U.S. senators give it credit for, right? Just look at the cultural power of a Senate seat. Right now, you've got, biological men sort of, transitioning or whatever, competing on women's swim teams. And none of our leaders are talking about this. That's pretty crazy. You've got open borders. You've got massive inflation because the government printed like $6 trillion in the last year. And we've got a few good Republicans, I think, but like, man, not enough people are talking about this and really educating voters and helping people understand that like the Democrat leadership in charge has failed. So obviously a huge part of the job is passing the right bills, blocking the bad ones. But I think just the cultural power of the seat is kind of underexplored. And it's true. I had a really good gig with Peter Thiel, running his family office. But this seems like the most important thing I could be doing. Arizona is a swing state. I think this Senate race that I'm in is going to determine the balance of power in the whole U.S. Senate. And it's just important. I feel called to do it, and I know I can win and do a good job.
So let's start maybe with the economic kind of situation. Obviously, it seems like our debt ceiling just goes up and up and up, regardless of who the president is. But with that, we're living right now with 8% inflation in the official numbers, unofficially probably somewhere in the teens. What's your general read in terms of kind of the mistakes that have been made to get us here, and then like what is the solution, right? I think part of what a big portion of the American people they feel like politics is just arguing all the time, and I think one of the things that has been part of your approach, which I think is pretty effective, is like, hey, there's like real solutions that could be pursued. Whether we do it or not is up for debate, but like, how do you think about getting out of the economic situation that we're in?
Right. Well, one, it is kind of hard to put the cat back in the bag here, right? The simplest thing we can do on the inflation front is to stop printing so much money. It's totally unsustainable. Our national debt's past $30 trillion now. And I get the sense that Republicans who used to be sort of, hawks on this, they're not watching anymore. It's kind of just like, well, and now you have modern monetary theory, right? The pseudo academic jargon that just says, oh, doesn't matter. We owe it to ourselves. You can sort of get away with this for as long as you want. And I really fear that's not true. You mentioned official inflation at 8%. Yeah, sure. If you define the basket of goods to exclude, food, energy, right, gas prices, I think the real Costco basket probably costs 20 to 30% more than it did last year. And so for a lot of people, who opine about inflation in the opinion making classes, inflation is just an annoyance, right? Or economic abstraction. But for so many voters that I meet on the campaign trail in Arizona, this is like life and death stuff. This is existential. So you got to stop printing so much money, and we got to get people back to work.
When you start to think about things like wages, real estate prices, it feels like inflation, obviously, people think in the consumer goods space, but wages haven't kept up. Also things like the cost of a home. The average home in America, I think, just cost over $500,000, which is, pretty insane number when you think about what that means. Is the ideas really around, hey, the government should stop printing? And then, like, how do you think about things like financial education, right? And it feels almost, I always say that, like, the gap between those that are benefiting in this situation and those aren't. People would like to draw the line around wealth, but really it's an education gap. Like, some people know how to benefit from this environment by holding investable assets, et cetera, and then 45% of Americans don't. So how do you think about like the overlay of the education for personal finance, et cetera, with a lot of this?
I was just touring a charter school in Arizona, and I was blown away because they have a year-long program. The first semester is personal finance, and the second semester is entrepreneurship. And two things are remarkable. One, that's just a really cool program, right? And I got to talk to some of these kids in the entrepreneurship class, and you could just see how happy they were to be there, right? And they were starting all these micro businesses, and you start with nothing and you try to see if you can end the semester with like $500 or whatever. So what a valuable thing that is. But then the most remarkable thing about it is how rare a program like that is, right? And I think in the first, so you got like 11th graders, they're listening to Dave Ramsey, they've never heard any of this stuff before. They don't know what a checkbook is, let alone how to balance it. for them, and increasingly we're in a cashless society. So maybe some of them know about crypto, but mainly it's just, put it on the parent's credit card, and they're not acquainted with this stuff. They're not learning it in school. And so I think that one gem of a program could be some kind of model, like bring back home ec, right? Bring back financial literacy class, bring back shop class while we're at it. But schools should be useful instead of just graduating a bunch of people that don't have any skills.
Hey, you, did you like this video? Great. We make 5 of them a day and post them here on this channel. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and see you next time.